Cumbria. 25 past 7. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, children, teenagers, they're facing waits of more than 2 years to get their teeth fixed. Even before the pandemic, waiting lists for orthodontists were long, but now the British Dental Association says they're even worse. It says patient referrals have collapsed and estimates that at least half the patients who would have started treatment this year haven't, because they've not been seen by their dentist. Layla Miller is from Kirby and Furness, and her son Zach was recommended for braces by his dentist 3 years ago and is still waiting.
He turned 16 in 3 weeks and we still do not have braces on his teeth. The front two are completely crossed over now, and his hopes and dreams, so what he wants to do when he grows up is be an actor. So he is conscious that having rubbish teeth potentially will put him off getting jobs in the future. So he is quite distressed about it.
Let's talk now to Jo Dancer, a consultant orthodontist who chairs the Lancashire and South Cumbria Managed Clinical Network. Good morning to you. Long waits predate the pandemic. What exactly is holding up treatment here in Cumbria?
Hello, Mike. Thanks for letting me on. There are some specific issues, I think, in South Cumbria that relate to the national problems. There is a shortage of orthodontists nationally, particularly where you're away from the teaching hospitals in Manchester and Liverpool. There were already long waits because of that and because of the way the NHS is contracted. But in that specific area in Barrow, the problem's been made worse by the previous specialist orthodontist retiring a couple of years ago, and the national re-procurement or the recontracting for orthodontics being delayed. So I know that issues in the south of Cumbria have been a particular problem, and the good news is they are now being addressed. So there is a new practice in Barrow that has opened up, and a new one in Kendal since the 1st of April. Of course, the pandemic affected the opening of the practices.
Well, it's good news that we have things up and running now. There will be those self-conscious teenagers desperate to get their teeth fixed as soon as possible. But physically, does it affect the success of the treatment if they have to wait longer?
So we have a system in place. There is a national system where we grade all patients on the need for treatment. And in all practices and all hospital departments, the incoming referrals and the new patients that we see are graded. So I can reassure your listeners that any patients who are in need of treatment urgently or a priority group, because they may come to harm from their condition being left, they are being treated, and they will be treated as a priority. I'm afraid a lot of orthodontic treatments are routine and do not directly affect your health. They certainly affect your prospects for the future and your mental well-being, but they aren't classified as a health risk, as an immediate health risk. So those patients are the ones that we ask to wait.
OK, thank you. Consultant orthodontist Jo Dancer, who chairs the Lancashire and South Cumbria Managed Clinical Network.